Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting of the County Commissioners to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we please could remain standing for a moment of silence. Today, January the 9th, is Law Enforcement Officers Day. I'd like to keep in our prayers all those law enforcement officers that have given the ultimate sacrifice, as well as we lost another long-serving county employee the other day, Miss Joyce Kagowski, of 44 years. Thank you very much. Time is allotted at the end of each of the meetings for the commissioners to receive comments from the public. I have a public notice here. A hearing will be held on January the 23rd, 2023 at 10 o'clock a.m. in the Commissioner's Hearing Room, R. Clayton Mitchell Jr., Kent County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The agenda for the meeting will be published online 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Citizens are encouraged to participate in the public hearing process. If you require communication assistance, please contact the County Commissioner's Office at 410-778-4600 and press 4, or visit Maryland Relay at www.marylandrelay.org no later than noon on Friday, January the 19th, 2024. And that will be for Code Home Rule Bill number 6-2023, adaptive reuse of existing structures in AZD located on parcels under 20 acres. That's the public hearing. Then we have 5 consent items. We have regular session minutes dated December the 19th, 2023. We have liquor minutes dated December the 19th, 2023. We have C. Henry Price II, American Legion Post 246, a raffle only, January the 11th, 2024. And then Bill Mackey, Director of Planning, Housing, and Zoning, has Maryland Community Development Block Grant Semi-Annual Report for Housing Counseling Grant MD-22-CD-1. And then Bill Mackey, the Director of Planning, Housing, and Zoning, has a Maryland Community Development Block Grant COVID Round 1 Quarterly Progress Report, grant number CV-1-7. I'm entertaining a motion to approve the 5 items.
So moved.
Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Have a special Class C license. The Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company is asking for a multiple event permit for beer, wine, and liquor from January to December the 31st, 2024. This being an alcohol license request, it needs to stand for a public hearing. We'll make today the public hearing. So anyone in the audience that would like to comment for or against this application, please feel free to do so at this time. There being none, I'm entertaining a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve multiple event special Class C per diem liquor license application for the Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company.
Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. And we have 2 proclamations to read this morning. Commissioner Price will read the first one. It's a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Remembrance Day, and the proclamation entitled "Living the Dream Starts with Me."
Mr. Cook, would you like to come up, or? Warden Cook?
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Lamont. You have anything you'd like to say first, or?
Well, I would like to thank you all for the proclamation first. I'm here representing the group. This is just not Lamont Cook, but the group of about 13 or 14 people that are on the committee to have this program again this year. Last year, it was a transition for the newer, younger group to take over. The older group, I use that term, which I'm part of, or was part of, passed the torch on to the younger group. We've been doing this event for over 30 years or more. We used to do it at the Rock Hall Fire Company, and they did an excellent job on serving us, trying to serve upwards. I think one year we had over 300 people, or close to 300 people in attendance, and that was probably, from what I understood on the Eastern Shore, that was one of the largest types of that event on the Eastern Shore, at least on the Upper Eastern Shore. I remember a comment was made by the gentleman that used to do, Joe Morse, that used to do the African American Pride magazine. And he said this was probably the largest event that he could remember attending in a long time. So, you know, a lot of effort has gone into this. We did honor Rock Hall last year at the last year event for all the work and stuff they did. Because I know they had to probably get up 3 o'clock in the morning to get all that breakfast done. And we're talking about a buffet breakfast, and that was great. And I don't think that they ever ran out of food. Maybe one time they got short, but for the most part, they did an excellent job, and we recognize them for that. They did a wonderful job all those years for us. So now this year, we're going to be doing it up at the Washington College. The event starts at 8:30 down at Fountain Park, and they'll have a reading there, and then they march upwards to the college, and we'll be having a breakfast at 9 a.m. I believe it's Hodson Hall, if I'm not mistaken. And then from there, we have a free program that starts, I would say maybe about 10 o'clock after the breakfast. And last year, that was very well attended. So, you know, we want to keep this going on as best we can. I was honored for the newer group to ask me to stay on to work with them. And I try to give them little ideas. They do a wonderful job. They're learning, and we're going to do it again this year. So we'll have, my understanding is that the William Pickram Award will be going to, we call him Big Mix. He's here in Chestertown, so I think they're going to recognize him with that award this year. So again, you know, I thank you all for allowing, you know, us to be before you for this proclamation. You all are welcome to attend if you can. If that's the case, we'd like to have you read the proclamation before the group, if that's possible. But anyhow, thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for everything that you've done over the years, not only with this project, but everything else that you've done for the better of our community.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the commissioners and the citizens of Kent County, I'd like to read a proclamation. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Living the Dream starts with me, January 15th, 2024. Whereas Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929, and in 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill making Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. As a result, Americans commemorated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on the third Monday in January of each year. And whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s accomplishments as a clergyman, Nobel Peace Prize recipient, author and advocate for securing the enactment of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act, emphasize the principles of equality as a cornerstone of our democracy. And whereas on August 28, 1963, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., shared his dream with all Americans, that all people can live and work together as one. And I Have a Dream speech that will forever inspire the victims of unfair discrimination. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim January 15, 2024 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Remembrance Day in Kent County, and join Mary's Dream Alliance Incorporated, Washington College, and the Kent County NAACP to honor the memory of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this day. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member. And we'd like to present you with this.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Can we get a picture? Or?
Okay.
Thanks.
And I hope I pronounced this right, Jonathan Varnstrom?
We're here in place of Jonathan.
Oh, you come right on up.
But it's another Swedish name, Ahlstrom, Susan Ahlstrom.
Outreach and Marketing Associate for all seasons. We have a proclamation of Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Welcome, and if you have something you would like to say, we have a proclamation that'll be read, and but we certainly, you're welcome to.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the chance to be here. I am Susan Ahlstrom. I'm the Human Trafficking Regional Navigator for the state of the Midshore region in Maryland. And my colleague.
And I'm Christy Miranda. I'm the Director of Victim Services at For All Seasons Behavioral Health and work with human trafficking survivors.
Very good.
And so we're here to bring awareness to the problem of human trafficking. Every year, nearly 25 million men, women, and children are trafficked and deprived of freedom, human rights, and dignity here in the United States. And human trafficking is a serious problem here on the Eastern Shore because we are at crossroads in terms of intersection of highways, international airports, seasonal work, great disparities in wealth and poverty. So our young people and adults, boys and girls, are all vulnerable to this growing problem. Human trafficking is among the fastest growing criminal industry in the United States, only second to drug trafficking. And so we really appreciate the opportunity to bring awareness to this issue so that people can be alert and aware as to the risks and to the potential harm in our families and in our communities. And For All Seasons is doing the work to provide services to the victims and their families, as well as help the intervention and prevention of this problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nickerson will read the proclamation.
This is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, January. Whereas human trafficking is a serious problem on the Eastern Shore, where traffickers use violence, threats, deception, and other manipulative tactics to force and coerce young and adult individuals to provide labor and services against their will. And whereas the Eastern Shore Human Trafficking Task Force is engaged in anti-human trafficking actions by encouraging and promoting awareness and the prevention of human trafficking. And whereas January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month across the nation, which formally recognizes that human trafficking consistently occurs in the United States and emphasizes the need for public and private sectors to come together and focus on prevention, prosecution, partnerships, and support for the survivors. And now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, can join in national movement and proclaim January as National Human Traffic Prevention Month in Kent County. Signed, the Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member.
Would you like to have
Thank
a picture?
Yes, please, thank you. Yes, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Now, for our first appointment, we have Dave Pritchard, Area Manager of Boys and Girls Club, Boys and Girls Club of Hartford and Cecil Counties. Excuse me. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time to meet with us and let us present. Just wanted to share a little bit about who we are. It's been about a little over 2 years since we last sat at this table. So just figured it was time to come back and share a little bit about what we've been doing since we last showed up. So we are Boys and Girls Clubs. I've been tasked with figuring out how to find areas of need for youth to be served. We found an area at Garnett specifically where we've been doing a before care program serving 15 kids a day that come in for before care. We call it a mindful morning program, just preparing them to get ready for the day. Some kids might need to run around the gym and get off some energy. Some kids might need to focus on a STEM activity, maybe building some magnet tiles and having a purpose through that. And some kids just, like to read a book quietly or maybe need some help with homework. We're able to also provide them with a snack and identify some kids that may be in need and really just support, what the community in that way. So a very cool program we have there. And then also at the community center, we've been partnering with Parks and Rec. This past summer, we partnered with them and supplied some staff members for them and provided one of our programs called Summer Brain Gain, which is a summer enrichment program focusing on different activities as far as like STEM, mostly English reading, just to kind of keep the brain moving throughout the summer, but also providing a fun way for them. So we were doing about an hour a day of programming for that, and just allowing our staff to help support the Parks and Rec program and the awesome summer program that they've had. We've also been using the building during the school year for what we launched this year called our Teen Hub, which is an opportunity for middle and high school students to come and hang out and have a safe place for them to come to with some mentors. We've got some people shooting hoops with them. We're providing pizza, chicken nuggets, just trying to find ways to get kids in the building in that safe place. We've got some staff there that we've been tasking them with, specifically with the basketball season going on and being at colder months, we're getting a lot more students coming in. Now we're trying to figure out how to keep them in the building, hence why we kind of launched Pizza Fridays in the past month. And we also have been utilizing the back room there. We've got like a PlayStation 5. We've got some other games, STEM activities that they have access to. And we also, one of our staff members has been helping a few of the middle schoolers that have come in with homework, using the library space and accessing the internet and things like that. So it's been a very fun 2 years trying to grow in Kent County and really make impact on youth specifically. I'm joined with Derek DeWitt here, our CEO. So Derek, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
Just a thank you. Thank you for allowing us space in the county building. Thank you for allowing, I suppose, outsiders to come in to have an impact on the kids in Kent County. And we look forward to just growing the program further and further. As you guys know, transportation is one of the biggest challenges in any rural area. And we're hopeful that one of the RFPs that we have put in recently will allow us to afford some transportation through Kent County Public Schools to try to get more kids to the out-of-school time programs that we're running in collaboration with Parks and Rec. And can't say enough about Parks and Rec program. The staff, the program itself, they've been very welcoming and have been extremely helpful in connecting us with not only the kids in the community, but with advocates and folks that want to see Boys and Girls Club programming, youth development as a long-term sustainable option for the kids in Kent.
Thank you. We have our Parks and Rec Director, Ms. Jill Coleman, in the audience. Jill, you want to have anything you want to add, or?
I mean, no, not really. Yes, we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club. We were hoping they would vamp up our after-school program with our kids coming in. It's been a slow process moving forward, but it's starting to pick up. More kids are starting to come in. It's always basketball season, so of course more of them come in during that time. So, and then we're just hoping to coordinate with them with more special events, like we had the luau throughout the summer that was really successful. So we're hoping to hopefully continue the partnership with them. If not one way, we can possibly find another way to possibly do something if we feel like if it's not currently working, we can look for another avenue to possibly work with the Boys and Girls Club.
Very good. Well, thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Donald, a project engineer, and Bill Carroll, project development, State Highway Administration, to talk about National Geodetic Survey. Good morning.
Do we have a presentation? Great.
That's a pretty fancy title you have.
Pretty what?
Pretty fancy title you have after your name.
Oh, well,
Project
you
Development.
can call me a lot of different things if you like, but, and some have. Eric is handing out some the same flyers for pamphlet that we've issued up here. We really expected a lot more surveyors to be here today, but we had a friend of ours, colleague of ours, Tommy Davis, passed away suddenly last week. Davis Moore and Sharon, and his funeral service is going on right now, so many of them are attending that. So, but we did want to make it available to the public, and I'm glad to see Donnie and Mike here and whoever else is from the survey industry. I want to introduce Eric. Eric has been with the State Highway Administration for 6 years. He's the area engineer for geodetic control throughout the state. He handles controlling every project that's being developed in as far as highway systems through the state of Maryland. And I'm with Project 2 Development here, the chief of new projects and all for District 2. So he and I collaborated a little bit and all, and back in July of 2021, we had this idea to densify the benchmarks here in Kent County, because the federal government provides funding to the state through MDOT to get those areas that are remote and don't have a whole lot of control. And we picked up on Kent County because you look at your second sheet there, that's Cecil County. They have plenty of control all the way around there, very dense. And then the next sheet is Queen Anne's, and Eric led the charge on finding all those monuments that were built by McCrone back in late 1990s and early 2000s, and reestablished them, relocated them, and then put them in the Blue Book Value with the National Geodetic Survey. So they're pretty well monumented. Talbot County is pretty well monumented. Caroline is about like us. So the next slide is showing how many control monuments we had in the county. We had 11, and about 8 of them were available to us. Some of them were off-site, they were on private property. Some of them we couldn't use for GPS, and they're pretty sparse if you look at it. Also, the next page is the vertical benchmarks. It's kind of sporadic. It runs up from Cliff City through town and up 213 to 292, 297, and then back one night to 298. Then you have a whole bunch of monuments around 301 and near the water down in Rock Hall. So Eric led the charge in doing a lot of this consolidation. What we did was we found some of the good benchmarks that were available, that are vertical, that we could use for GPS observation. And we also built new monuments. So we had 11 available to us, 8 of them which we could access and use. And we built 53 monuments in the county with the help of Roads Department. And Mike and his team got together and we dug the holes using their equipment and their personnel, and we poured concrete, and he'll go into the detail what they were like and all, but we hired Gillespie to come out to each one of these sites and pour them as we went along. And we were able to cover all 53 monuments that we built inside of 2 weeks, right? Pretty quick. And we ordered for the county, and Public Works has these. These are the discs that we installed on each one of those monuments. Anyway, next slide shows what we have now. It's well-balanced monumentation throughout the county for purposes for not only survey, but for using these monuments for whatever GPS application you have. You know, some people can use it for the controlling and calibrating their equipment for agricultural use and everything else. They can access those points there. They have the values already printed up on them. And, you know, Eric is pretty well versed on this. He's been with Aberdeen Proving Ground. He was with NASA at Goddard Space Center. He's well versed on how to get this stuff documented and all. So I'm going to just turn it over to Eric now and let him kind of go through the rest of the presentation.
So like Bill stated, I mean, the county, folks from the county played a tremendous part with manpower, getting concrete and auger. If it hadn't been for them, we'd have still been, Bill and I would still been out there digging holes 3 years later, 2 years later. So these monuments were installed according to National Geodetic Survey requirements, 3 foot deep, belled at the bottom, survey disc planted on top, and the top 12 inches with using a cardboard sonotube to form the top of the monument. The monuments were allowed to cure for a couple months, and then we started proposition GPS observations on them. Each monument had a minimum of 2 observations. Approximately, they average about 3-hour observations. The minimum is 2 observations for 2 hours. So we went beyond that. We made the first round of observations, waited several months because you had to let the geometry of the satellites change for the second observation. And while we were waiting for that, we ran precise levels according to National Geodetic surveys using INVAR rods and high precision equipment through approximately 9 of the monuments. And then we went on to do the second round of observations and then processing, got these monuments all published, some vertical. They all have vertical values, some are third order. The ones we leveled through have first order high accuracy values. So we got them published through the National Geodetic Survey. And I wanted to go through the next slide to show just how everybody can get this information. These are the NGS data sheets. Next slide, please. The information highlighted, it's got the monument name, the quadrant, and the North American data of 1983, horizontal values, and the NAVD, North American vertical data of 1988 values showing and how the values were determined, whether it be GPS derived heights or precisely leveled also some information about the monument itself, name and agency, which I apologize, they should say Kent County, I'm working on fixing that. Now they can only say the data sheet and the SHA. They've got a description of how to get to the monument and ties to physical structures, houses, box culverts, center line roads, so the monument's usually found. There's also pictures for each monument, close-up picture over eye level, and a distant picture with a significant feature in the background to easily find the monuments. If you go to the next slide, please. So the way you can go ahead and retrieve this information is available to the public. If you go to the National Geodetic website, you can search marks by a PID, which is the permanent identifier that the NGS has in their database. Or the easiest way to do it is keep going. Next slide, please. You can go to NGS website and download a program, called DS World. And within that, you can go through and you can specify state and county and what kind of marks you're looking for. Horizontal marks, vertical marks, and you can actually download the data sheet to your computer, or you can actually download the KMZ of all this, all the survey control that's published in the National Geodetic Survey database, and to a KMZ and give you a visual aid of it. Next slide, please. One more. This is just showing you how to download the actual data sheet. Keep going, please. Another slide. Okay, so this is the National Geodetic Survey website. If you go to the search bar, just type in DS World, you can download your program. And next slide. So this is DS World. So if you go to, if you want to plot the marks, you go to plot and then marks. Next slide, please. Marks published by state and county. Next slide. And pick your select your county. You can do any of the counties within the state. Doesn't have to be just one county. If you're working Caroline, Talbot, wherever. Select your type of stability, and like I said, a lot of KMZ where you can just grab the data sheets that you need, and it's actually in the handout we gave you how to actually get to them. And so again, thanks to the VPW folks for partnering with us. They were tremendous amount of support, and they saved a lot of folks. Go back a little bit, please. So this is the year prior to doing this. Bill Carroll, myself, and Malcolm Arthur Sheed installed a calibration baseline up in Warwick, right between 301 and Edgar Price Road, for local surveyors to test their equipment, their electronic distance measurement instruments. There are 4 marks out there, and they can use them to just give them confidence that they're taking good survey measurements and their equipment is in proper working order. This information is published. For some reason, the National Geodetic Survey is having problems getting it on their website, but I do have the information to publish horizontal and mark-to-mark distant values. Just they can't get on our website. But these marks are also published. We did precise leveling and a number of GPS observations on these marks as well, so they are published for horizontal and vertical in the NGS IDB for the general public to use. So I think that's pretty much sums up any questions.
Yes. That CBL, the calibration baseline, was the only one in the northern part of the Delaware Peninsula. It was a vacant spot, and National Geodetic Survey, they encouraged us to build something that we built right halfway between Delaware Bay and Chesapeake Bay, and that was the perfect spot. So.
Yeah, and it's pretty convenient for us, the northern part of the state, but there are a couple baselines in Cambridge, Pittsville,
right
down in that region, and some further out in Western Maryland, Central and Western Maryland. So this was a good spot to put one. It's and it's easily accessible to even surveyors from Delaware. So it covers a lot of area, broad area, we believe, and hopefully people realize it's there and they can Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all. We have a Human Resource Director, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just have one item for you this morning. We're here to request permission to move forward with a conditional offer of employment for the vacant position of Systems of Care Coordinator in the LMB. Bonet is here as the subject matter expert because she was involved in all the interviews, and several interviews that we had. You have the information in front of you about the candidate we're recommending, as well as information about two other candidates who were interviewed. There was, I think, 6 other candidates that were reviewed, but were not brought forth to the interview process. I'll stop there and see if there's questions that we can address for you.
Any questions? We're fine. And
I'd like to make a motion to hire the selected individual for the Systems of Care Coordinator in the Local Management Board office as requested, pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements.
Second.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks, Vinay.
Jim, are you going to be hanging around for the meeting, or will you be available later?
Yeah, I
questions.
got to run back upstairs for a couple items, and I'm going to come back down.
Okay.
Public Works Director, Mike Moulds. Mike, you got 3 items for us today?
Yes, I do. The first item is more of a notification to let the public know, as well as inform you in terms of the bridge replacement project that we have. In doing a bridge project where you have waterways, you have to get environmental approvals and things like that. So I just wanted to read some of that background information for that. And we have a couple pictures up there, and that'll be the record for the public with that. So the project that we're working on is for replacement of a culvert structure on Lamson Forest Road over Mills Branch. The existing structure is a 2-cell, 8-foot, 10-inch wide by 6-foot, 1-inch high bituminous coated structural plate pipe arch culvert. Reason it's a bridge because it's over 20 feet in length to do that, so it gets classified as that. First picture you have is the approach there where the bridge is. Can you do the second one, Sandra? And you can see the culvert, 2 individual culvert pipes, both the same size, that are there that need to be replaced. The proposed replacement of that is going to be a precast concrete structure. We wanted to do that because it has a lot longer life expectancy, improved flow through that area, and hopefully a local manufacturer will get the project. So it'll be designed for a 10-year hydraulic design. The precast structure will be 12-foot wide and 6-foot high with concrete end walls and tubing railing. And all this has to meet state, federal requirements for a bridge. You can see that. And the next slide there, Sandra, is the location of it. And they will require a detour to pull them out and do that, but we have access from both different directions to the site. And then next slide. That's a view inside. The problem we have with these type of structures is where you have that water-air interface. Over a period of time, the bituminous coating wears away and it starts corroding in there and separates those ribs, and that loses some of that structural capability that is there. We do inspections every 2 years on all our bridges in the county. So it's part of that, and this is on a watch list to monitor that for the time that we have to get the design approvals and funding for that. We're in preliminary design and environmental permitting. Wilson T. Ballard is the engineer for the project. Funding in FY '24 is $400,000 with an 80% state and federal funding, and $80,000 in county funding towards the project. We had $60,000 set aside in FY '23. As part of the project, then we'll be going into a final design, and then we'll be ready to go out for bid and construction. So we're looking at construction in 2025. We also submitted a request for supplemental funding under Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act for local governments to address poor and fair rated system bridges to try to obtain 100% federal participation. And State Highway has notified us that the bridge project will receive $536,900 in funding, or 100% for the final design work. So we're happy about getting that. So that's the information background on the project. Did you have any questions or anything on that? Good. No actions needed for that then.
I guess the only thing I'd like to know from my own knowledge is, so does it normally take this long?
To do these projects? Yeah, because you're dealing with the federal government. The engineer will be preparing the kind of design. Then that has to go to State Highway. State Highway does a review, have their engineers look at it, and then we go through these three-step processes to do it. It's the old story where you've got federal money coming in, so you have to follow federal rules to try to bring all these bridges up to new standards. So we're not just replacing what's there. The bridge now is going to have to meet different standards in terms of safety, width. There was even discussion about should we have a bike path through there, which we got a waiver on. So, and obviously you've got environmental concerns, which are also a big thing. So we have to bear with the process in order to get the grant funding that we need for these jobs.
I guess we have to play ball, I guess.
That's the way to do it, yeah. All right, the second item on the agenda for approval is requesting approval to donate an Office of Emergency Service EMS vehicle that has been removed from county service by a new replacement vehicle to the Community Fire Company of Millington. The OES office reviewed request for the use of the vehicle and is making a recommendation for approval of the donation. The estimated value of the vehicle is, I think, $5,000. So looking for approval for the transfer of that asset to the Millington Fire Department.
I think that the county has historically done this in the support of all of our volunteer fire companies who wish to have a used vehicle for their use. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the donation to the Community Fire Company Incorporated of Millington of a 2014 Ford Expedition identified as EMS 1-5 with 132,242 miles on it that has been removed from service and declared surplus property by the Office of Emergency Services as a result of a replacement vehicle.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The third item on the agenda for your consideration is approval of a water and sewer allocation. This is for a single-family residence. It's in the Millington, county's Millington service area. It's a single-family lot on River Road, which may also be known as West Edge Road. It's before you cross over 301, you got Edge Road, you drop down and then make a left. It's the last lot before you run into 301 is the lot that they're looking at there. The lot is located in the planned service area. and the allocation fee was $16,200. So we're recommending approval of the allocation request. Any questions on that?
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve one water and sewer allocation for a residential lot at the location of the tax map 0031 parcel 0212, tax ID 01024159, conditional on execution of the public works agreement and payment of allocation fees.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, I just have a couple real quick questions.
Sure.
Actually, one of, the first one here is a request. I was recently approached by a local reputable cleaning company that has expressed interest in being part of the process in the future as far as bidding on it or whatever. Would it be possible, maybe sometime later this afternoon, that you could send me what was put out as far as what we were looking for back in 2022?
Like the bidding notice.
Like the bidding notice?
The RFP.
Yeah.
There was a local company that did participate in that, and then they withdrew. They weren't able to provide a bond for the project. So I don't know if it's the same one, but if I can share
I think it is the same one, because that's what they actually brought to my attention, that they, and I would just like to see what it says. I'd like to see, number one, how much the county's spending to clean buildings, and I know why the county did it back in 2022, but the number I heard was pretty big, and I don't know whether there's a way to try to save some dollars here, so if sometime this afternoon, I have a meeting tomorrow with these folks, if sometime this afternoon, if you could just forward me whatever you have on it so I can familiarize myself with it.
Yep. No, we can send you the copy of the RFP.
I'm assuming the buildings that we're cleaning are the courthouse, 400 High Street, Public Works,
Community Center,
Community Center.
Library.
And KFC,
What's that?
KFC, Family Center.
Yeah, the Family Center, and there was also an interest in the, was that Hot Desk?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, when we did the original project, one of the comparisons we were looking at in terms of the cost of picking it up was that we weren't hiring staff, and that the balance there actually evened out. We were a little bit ahead on it. So our problem at the time was we couldn't get anybody. We were in terms of doing it. So it was a solution we needed to look into.
I'm not questioning the thought process behind why we did what we did or the county did what they did. It's just that I would like to know what we're requiring these folks to do and to make sure that they are fulfilling their obligations, because when I first came on as commissioner, there were some concerns about the cleaning of our buildings. And I'm assuming that's been resolved.
Yeah, there's a process in that where, and they struggled in terms of turnover of staff and things like that. But we request a QA/QC service, when their people come out, and then they'll do an evaluation of the work that's done and then put up a report and make adjustments to their process to get it done. So, matter of fact, I think Dan's been scheduled another one for coming up. So it's an ongoing process.
And the other question, for my knowledge, and maybe the other two commissioners as well, Commissioner Fithian asked a while back about a cell tower at the Ag Center. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the status of?
I have not heard of people. I think the last time Commissioner Fithian had more information than I had on it.
I actually called Monday morning, and the lady that we had been in conversation with, to get an update, because the last message I was given was that they would be getting back to us sometime after the 28th of November. Mm-hmm. Well, here we're in January, so I thought about it and I called them, and they're supposed to be sending them some. The these people build these towers, but they don't build them unless they've got people that are going to use them.
Right.
They've put this proposal before Verizon, who would probably be one of their main occupant of that tower. And they said it's a slow process. They don't know, they're in a waiting position till Verizon gets an opportunity to review this application. But they were going to send me some information. I don't know that I've got it yet. When I do, I'll forward it on to you, so to your office. But it sounds like they're still moving forward, but they're not going to build a tower until they get confirmation from one or more companies that they're willing to use it. So it's been put before Verizon, and I guess we're just in a waiting mode. But I did double check on it just this past Monday, yesterday actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and the discussions when I've had with her was what they'll do is they go and market to get someone to go on it, because they don't just build the tower and then wait. You get that first person on, and then they're leasing the tower. Then if they get a second one, then they sell that tower to the, if it's T-Mobile would be the next one or things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that pans out, because we know we got that problem with coverage up in Millington. Their coverage up there, cell phone coverage is horrible. So I think they'd like to see something happen up in that
And
area.
that Towchester area it's
Same
a
thing.
problem as well. But we've got some of them all across the county in different areas. It would be nice to take care of one of them or one or more of them, but it's kind of in the hands of the providers now as to whether they want. I guess they have to take a look at it and determine whether it's financially feasible for them to go take the expense of building it. But as soon as she apologized when I called her for not getting back to us sooner. She said it's in the hands of Verizon. It's on Verizon's desk now, and we hope to hear something sooner than later. But if she sends me that, I'll forward it to your office, so you'll know.
Okay, good.
And when we go to do this with this cell tower, planning and zoning is going to have to be
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely involved in the process and with permitting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
Covered?
thank you.
Okay. Mike, I'm sure you're going to hang around for this next one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, these guys.
Next up, we got Mr. Donald Sutton and his council member.
Harry's going to hang back, but Jeff's going to come up with it.
Jeff Miller.
Yes, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you
morning.
for having us in today and appreciate your time. As you know from our letter we sent out December 21st, we find ourselves in a situation where we need the county to take over the water wastewater operations for the town. The bids that we've gotten, because Mr. Miller has been very dedicated to us for 5 years, and he's still going to continue working with us, but he's basically been on call 24/7 for 5 years, and it's wearing him thin, I can tell.
Lost a lot of hair.
No, he didn't have hair when he started.
Can't blame that on you, Kenny.
But the two bids that we've gotten, one was, over $310,000 a year?
Right.
And the other one was just over $140,000, I believe.
Correct.
For the operation and maintenance of the water or wastewater. And that was with Jeff, the last one was with Jeff doing some maintenance
And repairs.
and repairs and all. And that's not in our budget, never would have been in our budget, because we don't have that many people that we can build towards that budget. We realize we're probably going to have to do something with the water sewer rates in Betterton. Rockhall did it this year, and I know that a lot of people were not appreciative of that, but prices of everything have gone up. The cost of maintenance, cost of employees. We've tried for, 4 years now to hire someone to be able to train, and just haven't found any quality applicants. I'll leave it at that. That's a politically correct way of saying it. So the ones we have acquired didn't last, and rightfully so.
How many, your plant is relatively new?
It's, what,
5 years.
5 years old?
We
5 years
started
old.
in 2018,
Yep.
October.
Yep. And it's just been through the startup and operation of it. Thanks to the county's help with that. That was put in, and the water treatment system, though, is from the 1969 version. So we're always looking for grants to be able to upgrade that, but grants are becoming few and far in between, unfortunately. So we come kind of with hat in hand, hoping that you can help us out and appreciate anything you can do to help us. But Jeff's looking to be just mainly our Public Works maintenance person, and not.
He would still be available if something, for some advice or something. For a while, at
Certainly,
least
yes.
for a while.
And as far as the lean-in session, if you want to call it that, the time period for training of the operation and maintenance of those plants, fine. And don't forget the pump stations we have also.
You got 5 of them?
5 of those. Yep. One we just replaced 2 years ago. We have others that need extensive work done to the tune of over
300.
to almost 300,000. And it's one of our main pump stations, of course, which we're looking to do that through the funds we've received from the COVID monies. So, but that's work in progress. But like I said, we're here asking for whatever you can do to help us.
What I might recommend, and as we hear you, and we certainly want to do whatever we can to help you. I think it would be easier, because we're going to be, in order to discuss this, I think we've got to mention some employees and possible employees and names and stuff, which I don't know that we want to do that in open session, but it would be good, whether we do it today or we do it at the next possible meeting, we could have a closed session of our own with obviously Mike and maybe Mr. Miller, who, for employee reasons, trying to
Understand.
figure out what we could do, what it would cost, how we could put this together. But
Understood.
if you'll give us some time, I would recommend to my colleagues that we just have a discussion like that to see I think there's maybe some things we can move around or do that might be helpful, but.
That anything is appreciated, as always, with the town of Betterton. Anything you guys do is appreciated. You understand that,
Well,
please?
and we do understand that. We realize that, and we certainly want to be there for you if we can help you. But I think we've got to have some in-house discussions
Sure.
about what we've got, what we don't have, and how we could maybe
Yeah, I mean-
work to help you.
I can understand. You have to have the staff as we have to have the staff, you know?
So would that be all right with you all?
I think that's a great idea.
You okay,
Yes,
Alan?
sir. You know, I think this is something that the county is already doing with the town of Galena.
Yes.
Well, we're doing that. We've been doing them since the new facility was built up there. We've been helping out.
Yep.
And coming from a town, as a town manager, I can tell you that that's probably the biggest challenge small towns have, is these wastewater treatment plants. So I understand.
It's our biggest expense,
Yeah, I have no question about it. Yeah.
aside from garbage collection, so, which is coming up there pretty good.
So Shelley, could we schedule a meeting at maybe at our next
Absolutely.
meeting where it would be closed so we can speak frank with our department heads, and then we'll get back to you all.
Not a problem. That's appreciated. Any time or whatever help you can get, we
Well,
appreciate it.
give us a couple, we don't have a meeting next week.
Correct.
The 23rd.
Understood.
So we'll be 2 weeks before we'll be able to discuss it, so,
That's fine.
okay, we'll be in touch with
We've
you.
been waiting this long. We're good for waiting longer.
Let us have that meeting and we'll see what we can come up with.
And I appreciate that.
Give
We'll
us
have our
5 more years, Jeff, and we'll have it figured out.
meeting. Just not looking for 5 more years of this. I appreciate whatever he's done, truthfully. I mean, he's taken it on. It's really Jeff's systems, not ours. We understand that. And that's appreciated. That
Listen,
kind of employee.
those jobs are extremely hard to come by, and to have people with if they have license, or even if they have the knowledge of doing it,
And the
that's a tough.
dedication.
It's tough, because those operators don't, as we all know, don't grow on trees,
No.
and,
And the source or the supply is becoming less and less,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, we will do this. We will make sure we have a meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And sometime after that, we'll be in touch with you,
Not a problem.
of what we think we can put together.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I appreciate you all coming in, and, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Tom, see you tonight.
I'll be there.
And again, thank you for the grant of the equipment that you formerly had. We're putting it to good use.
Good. Very good.
Take care.
Thank you. Next up, we got Miss Pat Merritt. Sure she's found a pot of money
Yes, sir.
somewhere, and it's gonna add to her general fund. I can see her smiling. She's got it.
Well, we're here to talk about the budget today, so, but we will, probably, I'm not sure if it'll be the 23rd or the 30th, we will be in with fiscal year '23 financial results, and the auditor will be here to present, so we'll be talking about that shortly. But today, as we do every year, all during the year, you approve adjustments to the budget. And at the end of the year, we just have to formally amend and incorporate all of those changes that you've made all during the year into a final budget document that we publish in our audit. So if you look at the, you have a schedule in there, I think that's the FY23 amended budget summary. We're going to kind of walk through. So the adopted budget for FY23 was $58,932,626, and we're going to amend it to be $61,546,550, which is an increase of $2.6 million. And I just kind of briefly wanted to go through and review the changes that we've made through the year and talk about the biggest changes. So if you look at that top schedule, you can see it goes from the adopted budget over to the amended, and there's 4 major classifications of changes. We have changes to the fund balance, we recognize additional revenue, we approve changes out of the contingency, and we also have departments that reclass budget items within their departments. So if we go to the second page, you can see that the largest change in our budget was that we recognized additional revenue this year. And the biggest change was in our income tax. And as you know, since COVID, we've been talking about that the income tax is going to level off, or it's going to come down, or we're going to have a soft landing, and everybody was really concerned, and projections were lowered, and our income tax has risen. So all of the money that was pumped into the economy, has increased our revenue. So they're still saying that we're going to, see this soft landing. We're going to get some updated projections, I think next month from the comptroller's office, so we look forward to seeing those. But the largest change to this budget amendment was that back in May, when we saw the increased numbers, we increased our income tax by $2 million. You can also see the other small increases there. We had some lease proceeds and some service charges that went up, and some fines and some forfeitures. So that accounts for just a little over $2 million of the change in the budget. The next category was the contingency, and all during the year, we approved $181,631 to come out of contingency, and you can see the various projects that were approved there. On the next page are all of the adjustments that were approved out of fund balance. The largest adjustments that come out of fund balance are usually that we have capital projects that didn't get finished last year that get moved into this year, and then we have capital projects that don't get finished this year that get moved into the next year. So the largest categories on here are the capital projects that get shifted between years. And you can also see that we had some additional funding needs, and we had some things that came in less. So that's pretty much the detail of the amendment. I don't know if you have any questions, or if there's anything else I can. Like I said, you've seen most of these items during the year, but we just have to formally amend the document to include it in our audit. Questions?
No, I don't have any.
If not, I guess I'm looking for a motion to approve the FY '23 amended budget as presented.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY 2023 amended budget as presented by Pat Merritt.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Pat.
Okay, thank you, and I'll see you in a couple weeks with the financial statements.
Great news.
Yes. Ms. Jamie Williams, Director of Economic and Tourism Development, here to talk about grant and re-grant agreements with the Warden Track Safety Project.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay, so the Wharton, so this project goes back to 2020. It started, so it seems like it's forever, and it's hard recalling all the details at this point. However, on August 23rd of 2022, the commissioners did vote to, did vote to put $10,000 to the project, and signed the agreement for that. The project agreement for Kent County and the Wharton Track project was formalized, and the commitment of the $10,000, and the money is in the budget. The money that the state is getting from the Maryland Department of Commerce, which is the $10,000 was to leverage $100,000 from the Maryland Department of Commerce, but the state can't grant money to the state. So we have to accept the $100,000 from the Maryland Department of Commerce and then give it back to the Maryland Transportation Authority for the Wharton project. So you have a grant agreement between us and the Maryland Department of Commerce, and then a re-grant agreement to send it to the Maryland Transportation Authority. And that's what we're asking for approval and signatures today for that documentation. The project is in process.
So to get to your point about projects taking a long time, this was started in 2020.
I think the discussions were happening when I was first hired in 2015, except it was called the Tiger Grant, right? It's the
Yeah,
same.
that is correct, yes. Yeah, and then the Chrissy grant came through.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, let's get this baby moving.
The train is coming down the track.
Do we
Let
have,
me go ahead and make a motion to approve and sign the Wharton Track Safety Project grant and re-grant agreements.
Second.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, and then the second thing I have on the agenda is the broker opinions of value for the village of Kennedyville. We had talked about getting the broker opinion of value so that we would know how to market it, because it's hard to market without having a price. But I think I know there was a work session with Mr. Mackey about the village of Kennedyville and how we wanted to move forward. But there's lots of complexities to this project. And, I mean, the next step, I think, is an RFP or an RFQ for someone to be dedicated to work on this, because it's going to have to be one person who is, this is what you do. Currently, I don't have the experience and qualified to spearhead a project like this. If it was the only thing I had to do, I could probably do it, but it's not. So the capacity's not there.
Jamie, I looked at that, and I noticed that you flagged that discrepancy between the two proposals. It looked like one of them valued the land based on acreage, and the other one valued it based on lots. And that's kind of how they did the math. That's what it looked like to me, that one multiplied acreage and the other one multiplied lots. And the one that multiplied lots had a higher number than the one that took it as the acreage.
I saw them both as giving us a per lot. Oh, I do see the per acre thing there as well.
That's how I kind of took it.
I see that. But yeah, there's so many different ways of looking at the project and valuing the project. And then, there's the social side of it, as Mr. Mackey pointed out, you know, this is a unique opportunity for the county. So how do we want to move forward? And there was a string of emails between, actually, I think everybody involved. And there's different, like, views and opinions of what we should be looking at, what we shouldn't be looking at. So it gets really complicated.
How do we market it?
Yeah.
What is marketable about this property?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think the infrastructure is an issue too, because that,
Absolutely.
there've been two previous developers.
Correct.
And the infrastructure required to do this is what essentially caused both of those developers to walk away from this. So,
Correct.
I don't want to put Mike on the spot, but Mike probably being in this equation would be helpful, because whoever is going to buy this is going to have to factor in what they're going to need to spend on infrastructure. Because we don't want to be in the situation we were in with the previous two developers, where somebody has it and then they don't have, or they're either unwilling or unable to spend the money to build the infrastructure that you need to complete this.
Exactly. So broker opinions of value are there. I don't know where to, I don't know what the next step is. And if we do an RFP or an RFQ, we're going to need assistance with even getting that completed to make sure that we get the right outcome that we're looking for. Because it takes some specialized knowledge. Even if you look at the two broker opinions of value, there's discrepancies between how many lots are available. So, because there's so much involved with this project, it's not as straightforward as other projects. And I know it just makes it more complex, and like, what do we do? And I don't know the answer without having a real clear direction from what we want to accomplish from this property.
One option is we could schedule a work session and really get down into the weeds about the proposed, or the broker opinion of values, about what the goals of the county are, how we want to attack this, what we envision this being.
Yeah, and just further to that, what a developer may be willing to pay this, it depends a little bit on what the price point of these houses are going to be. Because if the price point is higher, the developer is going to have an opportunity to make more money on it and may pay more. But if the goal is to have workforce housing, then the developer's not, so we have to adjust our price accordingly based on the price point of the house. So that's another consideration.
And not to state.
Zoning is a
Yeah.
consideration we've talked about from time to time, where if we had multifamily housing available.
Wasn't that originally part of this development, once they were going to put some duplexes in there, but that didn't come to fruition, as I seem to recall?
There's some there.
There are a couple of
Yeah, they're already
duplexes.
there.
Yeah, there are there, okay.
They were some of the first ones they built.
But they were going to put more in there, right, than what?
I think they had the option.
Yeah.
And they just went through a short subdivision process to create two lots out of one where they put duplexes. That's always available, but it requires more allocations.
Right. Well, if there's, the infrastructure is built, that could solve that, you know. I think Jamie's right, there's a lot to consider, and, you know, what direction we want to take this, you know, will affect how we want to market it, to get the developer that's willing to do the type of development that we envision would be best for the county.
And it does behoove us to get this off of our books sooner rather than later for several reasons. One of which is this does cost us to keep it on our books. We are paying property taxes.
Well, I'd like to see it. I mean, I think that I don't know what you call, I don't know what you call any housing, but I think that we had all kind of, we're thinking basically what's there. I mean, which is affordable housing, I'm assuming. I don't know. That's a pendulum that I don't know.
I'm not sure I know what.
Me either. That's why I say it like that.
There are definitions and
Right.
strict criteria, so I get what you're saying.
But I just think that, you know, for us, I mean, obviously sooner rather than later for everybody.
I mean,
We don't want to make, we're not here to capitalize on trying to make money. We're here to do what we think is best for the citizens of you know, the people that work and live in this, or want to live in this county. So that's.
So what do you envision our next step is to
I think a work session would be good so that we
Good.
can all get on the same page, just, exactly, I mean, and I think I know the number now, it's the 43 number, 43 lots, but it's taken a while for me to get that in my head just because of so many different conversations. So how many lots we're talking about, what our goal really is, what needs to be done
The
as far as
infrastructure
infrastructure, yeah,
necessities.
because that part, I don't have the expertise to understand all that, and I don't have the time to sit down and learn it right now unless I don't do my day job. So, and
Then
that's
maybe
where
we
we got to
should-
figure out,
Maybe we should just do that then.
Yeah.
Schedule a meeting to bring the right people into it and discuss how we want to move forward, I assume. It would be nice if we could get this thing, somebody to take this thing and try to make a go of it up there.
well, I mean, we have people that know that it's available, and builders are, it's not that builders aren't looking at it, because we've had a couple of builders look at it and actually go through, the penciling exercise to see if it would work out. And they've not come forward with a proposal. So, to me, that means it's not working the way that it currently is. So I don't know what the answer is.
I think the difficult part is we've got to get I would think you would have to get a figure from Mike as to what those improvements that we're going to ask for, what that would amount to.
It seems, the impression I get is you have builders that are interested in buying a lot and being able to put a house on the lot to sell, but you can't do that without the infrastructure. So there's not a lot of interest in a builder coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to take over the development and put in all the public works that needs to be there. They'd rather come in after all that's there and just put up, buy some lots and build houses. And it's kind of a catch-22. We can't do the houses without the infrastructure. They don't want to do they don't want to, we can't sell them the lots without the infrastructure. They don't want to buy the lots without the infrastructure.
Correct. Right.
So Mike, do you think if in a couple weeks or something, you could at least give us a figure of what you think the improvements would cost and bring it up at one of these meetings? That looks like, or at least it sounds like the unknown factor out there that we're all struggling with is what's the cost of the improvements before this project can move forward?
Yeah, we had done an estimate from the study back in
Yeah.
2000.
I remember that, but they're old numbers.
Right, we got to try to update those numbers. The issue comes into, okay, if the people come in and they build in, they're going to pay allocation fees. So that money would theoretically come in and try to cover some of this. What we're really talking about is off-site improvements, not putting pipes in the streets, because developers normally do that anyway. But when you need that infrastructure first before those homes get built, and that requires you spend money to put that infrastructure in. And then hopefully you recover that cost in terms of allocation fees. So the question becomes, does the county front that kind of thing, capitalize those improvements, and then get that, then it makes it easier for the developers. They just come in and build their lots and pay the allocation fees. And the allocation fee could be adjusted specifically to refund back. But it's the old story, you're taking the risk of putting this infrastructure in and hoping these houses get built. So that's the struggle. When they tried to do this before to avoid doing this capitalization that the county would have to do, the developer had to put up this kind of money, and then before he could do the next step, actually put the infrastructure in and do that. And that didn't work out in terms of what they wanted to do. I know the argument, showing back and forth, is that adjacent property there would be a choice property if it wanted to develop. Apparently, the owner there isn't interested in selling it. But that would add in a lot more homes that could contribute allocation fees to cover those type of costs.
If that were already part of this project, it would be a game changer.
Yes.
And the unknown of that is what really,
We struggle with. And I think one of the things that we got to think about is when we do this infrastructure, when we did that study, we looked at, and this is what you normally do, you look at the whole service area so that you're building that pump station or upgrading that pump station for the full capacity that you need for that. It doesn't pay to go and just bump it up a little bit for this development and then tear it down before anything's worn out 5 years later to make it bigger.
Right.
So you look at the whole capacity of that. That developer of that other lot would need to understand that if we proceed with only taking care of the village of Kennedyville, and we do that infrastructure just for that, it is going to be very difficult and expensive if he ever wants to sell that parcel for development in the future. In other words, get into the game now and be part of this proposal, and then attract hopefully maybe bigger developers, your Ryans and those kind of things, because now there's more homes that they could sell. The timing, I think, is good too, because now they're talking about there's all this pent-up demand, interest rates drop, and everybody's getting ready for this big rush of people wanting to do that. And the feelers are out looking for this type of projects to do that. So those are the kind of choices we're balanced with. We try to go after just getting this darn thing finished, and that's it. But we got to be aware what we spend to get that done is pretty much going to alleviate being able to do anything else in the village of Kennedyville. So there's some policy decisions that come into play and how we want to do that.
Well, you gentlemen want to have them schedule a meeting where we can get the details and give everybody a couple weeks or more to think about it, come up with the proper numbers, and we'll have a closed session. We can talk about the project.
I don't know that
Will
we
we
can
go
really
in
look
close,
this
will it be?
I would just do it in a work session.
Okay, well,
and-
whatever. You're probably right.
And then I'm just going to leave you with the Doing Business in Maryland. It's part of the Daily Record insert. It's an insert in the Daily Record every year, and it just talks about the business climate in the state of Maryland. And it has the brief economic facts for the state of Maryland as well as all of the counties, including Kent. And we usually participate with an ad as well to try to promote Kent County throughout the state. So I'll just leave these with you guys. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Bonnie Pearsall, Kent Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The first thing I have on the agenda is the 21 or none tobacco campaign. Just wanted to update you to let you know a letter was sent to the resident agent of an establishment informing them that the establishment has not been asking for proper identification before selling products to anyone under the age of 21. The letter also addressed an issue of they don't have clearly visible signage posted on the premises that states no person under the age of 21 may be sold tobacco products. Well, they have it posted, but so low that it's not visible. It was also suggested that the establishment should consider putting signs that state persons under 21 are prohibited from entering the premises. I signed the letter, and it was sent via certified mail on January 2nd, 2024. The letter and enclosures are attached for your review. The second thing on the agenda I have would be the tobacco compliance check. The Kent Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement is mandated to refer establishments that have more than one violation within a 24-month period. That has changed. It is now within a 12-month period. They changed that here lately in December from 24 months to 12 months, that if they have more than one violation, that we contact to let them know, the ATCC, which is the Alcohol, Tobacco, Cannabis Commission. It's a mouthful anymore. A letter was sent to them on December 12, 2023, to refer this establishment for compliance check violations, because they've had quite a few. The third thing on the agenda is the FY 2024 quarterly reports. I have conducted routine inspections to 56 establishments for quarter number 2, which consists of October, November, and December. I and the Kate team have implemented a new mystery shopper program where we use an authorized underage person and a person of age, and I sent them into the establishments to purchase products that they should have been properly asked for proof of ID. If the sales associate asked for an ID, they received a thumbs-up green card, and if they didn't ask for an ID, they received the caution yellow card. No citations were issued. The program was strictly used to see if the establishments would properly ask for identification. It was a no harm, no foul system. I am also in the process of distributing the 2024 age of purchase calendars to all the tobacco and alcohol licensed establishments to help them to identify if the person is of age. It's just an educational tool that we give them. And that's all I have for you today.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, just to mention that when I did do these green card, yellow card, I was surprised with most of these establishments, they received the yellow card, so I'm hoping by more education that we can correct that, and these establishments are starting to ask for ID. So that's what we're hoping for, with more education. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Period of time that we have at the end of every meeting for the public comment. Anyone got any questions or concerns they'd like to speak about? If not, then I think we have,
I do have
okay.
a couple of things I'd like to just ask about. A while back, we had talked about revising the current procurement policy. And I'm just wondering where we're at with that.
Well, the holidays definitely got into the middle of that conversation, but I've asked Mike to discuss with Jessa, maybe getting copies of the neighboring jurisdictions and/or our own towns to see where the levels are regionally, the thresholds. So we're looking into it, and we'll be bringing back a recommendation.
I think I can send you Betterton's if I haven't already, because Betterton just upped the numbers.
Good. Okay, that'd be helpful.
Try to
Thank you.
avoid certain things having to go out to bid because of you kind of get diminishing returns when because of the expense of that. So I can get that to you.
Terrific, thanks.
So I think that, I understand that the holidays and all, but the sooner that we can maybe get this in place and get it adopted or whatever, it's going to save us tax dollars, so, or it potentially could. So I think it's a good thing to try to go ahead and get that going. I see Jim came back. Jim, you mind coming up for a minute?
Whew, didn't roll.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, thank you for getting those checks out to our retirees over the age of 65. I've heard from all the ones that have been in contact with me at this point, and everyone is very, very appreciative,
Oh, good, glad to hear that.
including the one that there was a delay with. They have since received it.
That one was either cashed or deposited about 11:15 yesterday morning.
I guess for the public who is watching, there were some questions during our meeting here with the retirees, our work session on December 19th about, okay, so how is this thing going to move forward with Benegon? Do we know at this point
Yeah, we've submitted our paperwork for them to develop the HRA. We've asked for a timeline for that. They originally told us it takes a few days for them to create that document. We've asked for a timeline once that's created, when they will push out enrollment packets to each of the retirees. We don't have an answer back yet on that timeline. I suspect it'll be very quick thereafter, once the HRA is in place. We're still using 1/1 as the effective date for the program. We've noted, a number of the retirees have inquired, either talked to me or Jen or Rachel or Bonet, to ask about what are we doing for January because the Humana bill came or that kind of stuff. We've assured everybody that we know that it's, we're going to make sure everything's taken care of, and nobody's at risk of losing coverage as a result of the process that we're going through. Everybody that I've talked to, was fine with that response and said, okay, just, as soon as you guys know something, as soon as we get the packets, then, we may have questions on filling them out or what we have to do. And we said, we will absolutely walk you through that and make sure everything happens. Several of the folks commented to me that the idea of being able to go on direct deposit with Benetcon so that once the expense is approved, the money can go right into their bank account as opposed to waiting for a check to come in the mail was a really nice added feature. So they were pleased to hear about that.
And I've heard some of those same comments. And there's always a couple here and there that maybe don't utilize technology the way some people do nowadays. And I spoke with Jen the other day about that. I said, it's my understanding that you're going to be the contact person for some of our older retirees who maybe aren't as familiar with technology and able to maybe scan documents in and attach them through emails, if that's going to be the process.
Yeah, we're going to help however we.
And she said that, just tell them to contact me, or, it'll be known that she's going to be the contact, the local contact. We don't expect all 29 or 30 of them to do it.
We certainly hope not.
But I think that's an important customer service for our retirees.
Absolutely.
For those that are just nervous about it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you already talked about the getting the other part of this straightened out as far as, how is that going to be handled? Is it going to be every 6 months? Or going to be,
Yeah, we were talking about that in a meeting on Friday, and actually, Friday it was Pat, Gary, Jen, myself, and we were talking about what would be the best way to approach that. We actually think that the best thing to do would be to push out 6-month invoices, but let the individuals know you can send us a check for 6 months, you can pay it monthly, doesn't matter, but we'd like to get out of the business of pushing out monthly invoices. That's just a kind of a time-consuming process. And in fact, Jen's working on her template today on what that invoice would look like. She and I met this morning before this meeting.
Good. And one other thing that's been brought to my attention, and I just would like you to maybe look into it. We have a retiree who is not Medicare age at this point. Or, let me take that back. He is Medicare age, but he's not signed up because he's still working.
Oh, okay.
He has been rehired by the county and is working full-time, so he's not required to sign up. He has a spouse who is a little older than he is and is collecting Medicare or getting the Medicare benefit. They have not received the reimbursement for the spouse.
Yeah, I think that's the one I just heard about yesterday, that we were confused about the
I just got a text.
invoicing. Yeah, I think there may have been a conversation Friday and then a follow-up conversation yesterday, at least upstairs with our gang, to look into that, to try to figure out how that was being done. And I believe that the plan was to square away that amount and send over a request to finance to have a check cut. I think that was happening for today. I think we just heard about or understood the glitch on Friday, because that is a really odd situation. I mean, that's about the oddest of structures that we've seen.
I think it's probably the only one like that, but.
Yeah,
For now.
I think that's a
For
bit
now.
I've heard about. But I believe we're trying to get a check cut, and I'm not sure if it'll get in to be cut tomorrow, or if we're looking at next week's check run, but yeah, we're aware of that situation.
Yeah, I just got the text during the meeting here this morning about it. What I might do, Jim, is ask him to contact Jen.
Yeah, I think they were, I don't know if they had a
They can-
conversation Friday or yesterday, but yeah, there's been a conversation. I think there might have been a conversation Friday with him, but it may not have been Jen, it may have been Rachel, because I think he stopped in at one point. Yeah, we're aware of that one, and we're working through getting that squared away. I think we have one other person, not the same kind of convoluted structure, but somebody else that had a situation that we're squaring away as well.
As a result of 2023, that's a 6-month period. I think there's still some people that have not received their reimbursement or associated costs that they submitted.
So we're not talking about the Part B now.
No,
Now we're
no,
talking about the
no,
Part
no.
B and the Medigap.
Yeah.
It's probably the Medigap that
I
might
think
be
the
hanging out there.
reconciliation has been completed
Yeah, the
now.
reconciliation was finished up,
Friday.
I think
or Monday.
Friday is when they finally finished up the reconciliation. Pretty much, my recollection from looking at the document from Friday was that almost everybody balanced out. One person that we owed some money to, one person owed us a few dollars, but nothing substantial, at least in that scheme of things. I'll double check that, but yeah, we just literally, Pat and Jen just finished their entire reconciliation, and we were meeting on it Friday. It was the same meeting where we talked about the invoicing going forward. So I think we're in pretty good shape, 99% pretty good shape.
They were small numbers, the two that I'm familiar with. One was a $50 reimbursement. The other one was a $64 reimbursement.
Yeah. And that was, yeah, that one happens because one of the programs, the supplemental, in our case, the Care First, that rate can change. It's not like Medicare where you know what your rate is for the next 12 months. That one changes on your birth month. And we had somebody.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. We had somebody whose birth month hit so there's a November, December doable amount that's doable. Yeah, we're aware.
Okay.
We're working on it.
I think Jen is planning on reaching out to a few of the retirees to confirm the changes.
Yeah.
So it's in process.
Yep. It's all coming, it's all finally coming together. I appreciate everybody's patience on it. This has been quite a ride.
This has been a ride, but you know, it's faster than putting in a culvert pipe.
Yeah. Anything else I can
Thank you,
help
Jim,
with?
for hanging around or coming back.
Oh, no, not a problem.
You know, it's important to be transparent and to have it all out there so folks know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's what we've been trying to do upstairs. But every conversation we've had with any of the retirees, we've tried to give them the straight scoop as best we can. I don't promise that those answers necessarily always make people happy, but I promise they're going to get straight answers. That's the best way I can do with it.
That reminds me, I did see your email yesterday about the Maryland State Retirement
Oh, yeah.
webinars.
The webinars, yeah.
I would strongly encourage anyone that is thinking about, or even, 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, to really sit down and go through that so that they can familiarize themselves with what they are eligible for.
Oh, yeah, 100%
It's extremely
agree.
helpful.
It's a tough road to follow. I think everybody tries to make it as painless as possible, but there's an awful lot of puts and takes in that one.
There is.
Are you paying attention, Mr. Moles?
When I took that thing, it was kind of highs and lows. Graduations, you're gonna retire, and the second part was, you're gonna die soon, so you're gonna get some order, and then you're gonna get social security, and by the way, you didn't save enough money.
You're gonna run out.
You'll start getting those pre-planned funeral arrangement notifications now.
Work till you drop dead. That's the solution.
Well, we hope we
There's
don't.
flyers all the time. I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to tell me when I get those things. So, anything else I can answer, gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Mike, I did want to say why you, I meant to thank you. I had a number of people, at least, I don't want to exaggerate, I'll say 4 or 5 people that's come up to me in the coffee shop or something and said, thank you for the way you issued those dump stickers for because it prevented 2,000 or 3,000, or how many people got dump tickets, I don't know, but or stickers from coming in and applying for it again. The ones that were approved, you sent them to them in the mail, free of charge, and I can tell you that there was a lot of people appreciative. Some of the little things mean a lot. Sometimes it goes a long way.
If you pay attention going down the road,
You can
since
see
they're
'em.
red this year, you can really, I mean, for whatever reason, I've noticed since I got mine, I mean, it's every other vehicle has a dump sticker on it now.
Yeah, and then,
Tourism thing, come to Kent County.
and then if I understand right,
We have the best
this
dump.
one is good for 3 years? 3 years?
That's what we talked about, and we got sort of control back in terms of all the trash coming in and everything.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense instead of all those people having to come in and apply. If, we did what we set out to do was to make sure you were Kent County individual before you get one of those stickers. And anyhow, there was a lot of people said that's a great idea. Thanks a lot. Anybody else have any questions or concerns that they'd like to bring forth? Then we need going into a closed session.
That's what you want to do, right?
Well, I don't have to, but, let's do it that way, just.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under the Annexed Code of Maryland, General Provisions, Article 3-305B4, to consider a matter that concerns the proposal for a business or an industrial organization to locate, expand, or remain in the state, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Jamie, come on up front, please.